Okay, we have this bloody camera going random again. So, hello. Let me just wait and I'll adjust it and hopefully we'll get somewhere with this frigging thing because it only seems to happen when I'm doing live streams because I don't think the camera likes me doing live streams. I don't know why, but screw this camera. Hate it. Stop it. There, hopefully that's going to stay where it is. Can anybody hear or see me? Yeah, seeing me is a little more problematic with this fucking camera. But hopefully we'll get there. Why is it going over there again? Because there's no face over there. I don't know what's happening. Yep, good morning, Deborah. Hi, DB. Oh, I'm going to have to find a way to lock this thing down. I wonder if I got something that'll do it. I may have something that'll do it. Just give me a sec. Hold that thought while I frig around here because I may be able to get this to go here and this to go here. And hopefully that'll fix it. Kind of, sort of, yeah. Let's see if that works. No, that didn't work. This happens all the time, doesn't it? Oh, and then it settles down after about 3 days. Okay, that's stabilized it, I think. And if I just pop it down there. Come on, you bastard. If I was taller, that will work. Oh, I am sorry about this, people. That's going to have to do. I'll have to do it the other way, which is I move the monitor it's sitting on, and hopefully. Thanks, Dick. Bowl pain hammer might fix it. Yeah, that's the least favorite option. But I can always take it off here and go like that, and sit it with me like this and hold it all the way. But that's not going to happen. Okay, well, if I pop it up there gently, see, it's drifting. I loathe this camera. I'm beginning to have an active hatred of it. So we're going to have to kind of put up with it being there. Oh. Okay, how's the weather where everybody is? Well, I'm frigging around with this and trying to get it to go right. I mean, I don't ever need to have it go anywhere else. So what if I can super glue the fucker in place? Huh, that's a possibility too. But it is what it is. We'll see how we go. Yeah, so what is the weather like where you are at the moment? Here it is cloudy. It's going to rain all day. It's only going to get up to 19 degrees, which is slightly unseasonably cool. Well, if I hold up my hand, will it do anything? That sometimes works. No, that's going to stay. It's going to stay what it is. But yeah, so it's slightly unseasonably cool here. We've had a lot of rain. Time to talk movies, says Stevie Lee. Cool and partly cloudy here in Frog City, Portland. Frog City. I've been through Portland, but I've never been to Portland. I took the train through from San Francisco to Seattle, but I've never been to Portland. Tom says, starting the rain, can't complain, we need the rain. Yeah, absolutely. That camera is annoying me, to be really honest with you. Hi, Doug, how you doing? The camera has fucked up again, but we're going to get there. I'm caffeinated up. I'm not entirely caffeinated because I just went around the corner to Starbucks and got a dirty chai latte and a toasty. So I've had caffeine. I've got bottles of water. I've got this random camera that keeps moving around willfully. There are no faces in the area over to my right, but the camera has got this mojo to focus there, and I just don't know why. I wonder if there's a place where I can get a 3D print of something to grip that camera and just hold it where it should be. DB says, we've got excellent coffee roasters here if you choose to come back. I would love to. I can't afford to. I'm not likely to be able to afford to, but I would love to go to Portland. Don't like tipping culture. One of the weird things is I don't like the idea of businesses fobbing off the wages for their employees on the customers. I think that's a very kind of horrible thing from an Australian point of view. Here we pay people wages, and I think that's important. And by the way, Luna is meowing in the background. Doug says, glad the camera. I thought it was my boomer eyes playing up. I found out something interesting about baby boomers. If you were born between 1955 and 1964, you're not technically a boomer anymore. You're what's called Generation Jones, which is a different cohort than the post-war boomers. So you can't technically be called a boomer. You're Generation Jones if you were born between 1955 and 1964. So I'm claiming Generation Jones because there's a lot of ageism goes on. But yeah, I'll tell you what, I've watched a lot of movies. I've seen some stuff that I find kind of interesting. And that camera keeps wandering. That is so freaking distracting, isn't it? So very, very distracting. Wonder if I could get some chewing gum. See, it's going down to my gut now. I wonder if I can stabilize it with some chewing gum. That's a possibility. 1952 for me. Yeah, Tom, you're definitely a boomer. But that camera, look at, now it's done that. Now it's done that. You can see my speed racer up there at the top. My Mark V speed racer and the other stuff around the man cave. But you can't see me. Dick says, hope me and Sally and the cats are well. Luna is meowing. And Sal's doing okay. We got some family stuff we're going to have to deal with in the next little bit of time. But apart from that, we're okay. And I probably should put a light on. Camera just wants to focus on the horror, says DB. Yeah, probably. Let me put a light on. I'm going to plug a light in and put the light on, see if that makes any difference. Boom. Got a bit more light. So hopefully you can recognize my face and not all the crap. Maybe I should sit on some boxes so I'm higher. Maybe that'd work. But weird. Stay there. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about the camera now. As long as my face is somewhere in frame, I'm just going to have to wear it, and you're going to have to wear it zooming in and out. But yeah, nightmarish. See, underneath that box, underneath that cover, in that box, and if I gesture, the bloody thing keeps moving. There is something that looks like a face, and the camera's focused on that like a baby bird bonding, and I don't know why. See, look at that. Okay. Is my camera operated by HAL 9000? No, HAL 9000 is in the orbit of Jupiter. But hi, Peter. How you doing? Yeah, camera issues as always, but we'll get there. Hey, it's following me kind of, sort of, if I do this and go around. So maybe it is following me a little bit. Got some very similar things going on ourselves, especially with Roxy, says Dick. Oh, sorry. Give Roxy a hug for us. But yeah, the family stuff we got going on is getting to end of life stuff. So DB says the camera issues are just part of the fun from this point of view. Okay, we'll go there. I saw a really good quote, and I'm going to start with the quote because it's actually the title of the live stream. And I've had some thoughts about the quote because it kind of, sort of, burrows into some of the concerns I've got at the moment. It's a quote. Let me have a drink of water first. It's a quote from the author John Hodgman, who also turns up on TV a lot. And Hodgman said this: I consider nostalgia to be a toxic impulse. It's the twin. Hang on, I've got a pop up there. Hate that too. It's the twin yearning delusion that A, the past was better. It wasn't. And B, it can be recaptured. It can't. And that leads at best to bad art, movie versions of old TV shows, and sad dads watching Fox News. At worst, it leads to revisionist extremist politics, fundamental terrorism, and the victory of a narcissistic Manhattan cartoon. That being Trump, of course. So, yeah, nostalgia I've got to be very careful of. I think a lot of people get on the chat, and mostly on the comments rather than the chat, and say modern cinema is no good. They're not making good movies. Things aren't. I'm going to creep around again. Things aren't as good as they could be or should be, and that the past is better and old movies are better and everything was better when they were standing more upright and had more hair. I disagree with that. I think that every era has good art and bad art. It has great entertainment and poor entertainment. It has grifters and artists. Tom says, maybe if the background was totally black, the camera would focus on me. Probably. Hi, Franny. The camera is obviously looking at the invisible stuff the cats stare at. Yeah, I don't think there's invisible stuff the cats stare at. Cats just do that to mess with you. Sending you guys positive thoughts, says Doug. Thank you. Yeah, so nostalgia. Yeah, a certain cohort of the people who watch my channel and watch my videos are locked into things used to be better. Now, based on my own personal history, that's definitely not true, for me at least. Even though I do like a lot of the art of the 60s and 70s, and even as far back as the 50s. To say things were better in those times was simply not true. My life was definitely not better. My life was nightmarish. My life would make Stephen King shit himself. But there is a cohort of people who ride the nostalgia train. That's the reason we have Star Wars prequels and sequels and renumberings and things like that. That's the reason why every now and then a TV show will be made into a feature film that's not really very good. The only exception I put to that is the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV show, and Doug will know this. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie that Guy Ritchie made was incredibly groovy and incredibly underrated. So I thought I'd put that at the top of the live stream, that nostalgia can be toxic, and we've really got to be aware of that as we move through things and appreciate things that are coming up and are new. You will learn things if you watch new movies. You will learn things if you watch new series. And you can't really say TV because a lot of the best series never go near a terrestrial linear TV channel. DB Cooper said, just watch the Alien Earth series. It was abysmal and a nostalgia fest to the worst sense. Yeah, that nostalgia stuff from a purely commercial view rakes in the bucks to a certain extent. It's a cash cow. And as I've said before, you milk the cash cow until it becomes beef jerky. You sell the beef jerky and then you complain that nobody wants to buy the bones. Doug says there's definitely new stuff out there to watch. But for me, at least often the emotional connection isn't there. Yeah, the emotional connection, you got to filter, is what I'd suggest. Don't just go with the new big thing and the thing that everybody is watching and everybody is grooving on. I think there's tons of good stuff out there. Deborah says, I went to see Begonia yesterday. New cinema is pretty damn fine in my opinion. I'm looking forward to seeing Begonia. I haven't seen it yet. I've been kind of handling things here. But I will get to the cinema and see Begonia. And I want to see that because I like that kind of stuff. Doug says, agreed that Guy Ritchie Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie was very underrated. Yeah. And the needle drops in that, the music in that, all the Italian pop songs from the 60s are just incredibly groovy. I just had a thought on fixing this camera. See, look at it. And I'm going to try something. So I'm going to stand up, and you are going to see an unflattering view of me for a moment. But if I grab this, which is this, I may be able to stabilize this bugger. Let's see. Let's see if I can just grab it in the jaws of this clamp and get it to stabilize. It's gone to a Dutch angle now. Come on. And guess what? This isn't going to work. It may work there. Hang on. Let's see if I got it. If I can do that. I've wrestled it into submission. Golf clap. Yeah, so I'll just tilt that up slightly. Look at this. It's gone sort of kind of okay because I've put the clamp on the back of the gimbal. So we'll see how we go. Peter says, living in the past is never in itself a good thing. The past is a comfortable place to retreat to, like your bed, but you shouldn't stay in bed for too long. Yeah, I'll agree with that. D. Lee says, you have to look further than the usual places like Hollywood to find the good new cinemas out there. If you look, absolutely. And that's part of what I like to do on the channel, D. Lee. Absolutely, I agree with you. Part of what I'd like to do on the channel is to find the good stuff and not just find the comforting stuff. And the horror of it is when I just do the nostalgia stuff, like putting a 1950s science fiction movie on Science Fiction Saturday that people like, I get a lot of views on those. And the weird thing is that, of course, this is a business ultimately for me in some way. And so I make more money if I just ride the nostalgia train. But eventually it's going to run dry. There are only a certain number of 1950s science fiction movies made in America by small studios that you can talk about. You can't just keep recycling those and do it again and again and again. And I'm very aware of that. So what I'm doing is finding the obscurities and steering people to the stuff I think is good, regardless of when it comes from. Friday says, the only good living in the past is the Jethro Tull song. I'll agree with that. Sorry, I'm a little dehydrated. Deborah says, I also rewatched Last Night in Soho last night in anticipation of Running Man. The music is very nostalgic, but the narrative is all about how tough the past was, especially for women. I think it's among Edgar Wright's best movies. Last Night in Soho, even though it does a genre flip, is incredible. It's powerful. And yes, it is about toxic masculinity as much as anything else. And I like that. I really like it. Doug says, Down Cemetery Road on Apple is fantastic. Emma Thompson nails it. Thank you, Doug, because I was going to talk about Down Cemetery Road, which is written by Mick Hearn, the same guy who did Slow Horses. Down Cemetery Road on Apple Plus is really, really good. It involves intelligence services, and Emma Thompson plays a private detective in Oxford called Zoe Bohm, and her character is fantastic in that. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. There are series that are being put out mostly by streaming services. They run up to about 8 episodes each, and they feel 100% like long movies. They feel more cinema than they do television. And there are things like Slow Horses, which has done 5 series and is working on a 6th one. There's Down Cemetery Road, which is fantastic. There's a new one that Vince Gilligan, the guy who did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, has just started, called Pluribus. And Pluribus is incredible. It's basically the setup for Pluribus is people find a signal coming from space and they interpret it as being a sequence of amino acids. And so they put together the sequence of amino acids and it breaks out. And what this virus does is it turns everybody in the world into a hive mind. They're all of one mind. They're all together. They're all happy. They are a collective of hive minds. And there are only 12 people in the world that aren't affected by this. And one of them is a woman called Carol, who's incredibly unhappy and grumpy. Her wife died during the transition to the hive mind. And she is really angry with this hive mind. And so it's only a few days into the change over to the hive mind. And they gather together all of the people who aren't in the hive mind, who speak English. They had a meeting in Bilbao in Spain, and they got together. And the series is really dark but really interesting. And one of the problems is that this hive mind is very sensitive. And so if Carol gets really angry, they all go into basically a kind of seizure. And everybody in the hive mind around the world goes into a seizure for a few minutes. And every time Carol gets angry, about 12 million people die because they're in aeroplanes, they're in cars, they're going about supplying what the hive mind needs. And if Carol gets angry while there's a hive mind person around, she will kill 10 million people. And so that's a really interesting setup for a series. Doug says Pluribus is amazing, very interesting. Yeah. Deborah says I want to watch Down Cemetery Road now. I've finished Slow Horses. Yeah, I finished Slow Horses as well. Zami Adams says I live in the past every day. My elderly friends talk of 1970 like it was yesterday. After a while, it's annoying. Yeah. Doug says the new Running Man looks interesting. D. Lee says Begonia. I've seen it as okay, but it's a remake of a better film, Save the Green Planet. Wade says, as a regular viewer of Turner Classic Movies, I can categorically state just because it's old doesn't mean it's any good. From an historical perspective, it may be interesting, but dull and boring. Yeah, that's one of the things. Oh, that camera. I wonder if I do that. Yeah, it's really interesting that there are some very cinematic things that are being done in an episodic format, and they're fantastic. Yeah, they might not have ever got a cinema release, but they are really. This camera is just so pissing me off. Next time I might hook my Osmo Pocket up for the live stream. I think that's going to be a better option because that stays stable. But yeah, there are really good things, but most people are looking in the wrong places. I mean, something like Pluribus is mind-blowingly good and mind-blowingly good science fiction. But ultimately, it's a story that you can't tell in a movie because movies just don't have long enough for the plot development, the character development, the story development to happen. And streaming services have boku money. Netflix is cashed up as hell. Amazon is run by Jeff Bezos, one of the richest guys in the world. Apple Plus is incredibly cashed up as well. And Apple Plus has a positive bias towards genre stuff. They're doing science fiction. They're doing Foundation, a series I haven't watched yet, but a series that I'm hearing good things about. And so, yeah, the good stuff isn't just in movies. And it's not hard to spend 20 minutes doing a bit of a Google search and a deep dive and finding out where the good stuff is. You can do it. It's not difficult. It's not rocket surgery. But the stuff is out there and it's intellectually interesting. There's some really new stuff going on. There are series that are talking about contemporary issues in an interesting and novel way. There's all that great stuff. And people just don't appreciate it. And it pisses me off a bit, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. Sammy Adams says, Die My Love. I'm looking forward to watching it. Okay, cool. I don't know that one, but this camera is Annoying. Friday says, "What's a Begonia review by Mark Kermode who mentions that the meaning of the title is the belief that insects came from animal corpses." Friday says, which he had never heard of, strange for some from the UK since golden syrup had been in every tin with a dead lion and a bee from the Samson story in the Bible. Okay. Doug says, "I just tried to rewatch Lindsay Anderson's If. I couldn't get into it. Everybody raves about it. I found it pretentious. I haven't watched it lately. I really should watch it again. I've got it on Blu-ray." Peter says, "Things were better in the past because cameras didn't have a mind of their own." Yeah, that is cheesing me off no end. Zammy Adams says, "It's Lynn Ramsey's new film, Die Mother. I'm going to watch it." Tom says, "I picked up a DVD collection of Abbott and Costello movies for $5 yesterday. I bought it for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Invisible Man, and Abbott and Costello Go to Mars." Cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with diving into nostalgia stuff. Absolutely not. But, and I'm going to have to let this camera loose because it's heating up, and I don't want to lose the live stream. Hang on a second. There you go. You want to see my ceiling with a crack in it? You can see my ceiling with a crack in it. Here we go. Yeah, we're going to have to go with that. It's going to have to stay like that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with watching old stuff. Absolutely not. But one of the problems with that is people only watch that. People only do that, and they think that's the only good stuff. And they complain that there's nothing good new, but they're looking in the wrong places. If you look at linear terrestrial television, you're rarely going to find anything good to watch because it's designed to be attractive, a little tiny itsy bit to as many people as possible. Nobody gets a full feed, but you get one mouthful that's okay. And this camera. And that's a problem. That's definitely a big problem. Deborah says, "To scratch my nostalgia itch, I bought the Ray Harryhausen box set. Great dive into when I want that kind of thing." Yeah, I've got a couple of Ray Harryhausen box sets that are doing really well, and I like watching them occasionally. I watched It Came From Beneath the Sea a little while ago, and everything up to that Ray Harryhausen thing was kind of ordinary and weird. I wonder what this does. Tell me if this does anything. Can you guys see this when I put this up? Because it may be something I can do on the channel to make things a bit different. Could you see the quote screen? Or not? Because I'd be interested to see if that works. Black screen. Okay, that's weird. Don't worry about it. It's just something I tried this here on the screen. Imprinter bought out a Blu-ray box set of the 1924. Where is it? Friday says, the last few weeks purchased DVDs, Dog Soldiers, Cool and Look, Carmen Jones. Love Carmen Jones. Cross of Iron. Just National Treasure 2 and Long Goodbye. Yeah, Long Goodbye I really love. There was something there about imprint that came up on the screen. This is turning into a disaster, this live stream, isn't it? Oh, it is cheesing me off, but if I stay very, very still, I may remain in the frame because the camera will let me. Screen went black, okay. Because there is a share screen option here. And obviously it doesn't work for some reason. But yeah, these streaming series. I really recommend them. There's some really intelligent stuff. And the nice thing about something like Pluribus is the cinematography is mind-blowing. And the blocking of the camera shots, which is something I'm aware of because of this random camera. The blocking is fantastic. And the use of foreground and background by Vince Gilligan and Pluribus is really an interesting way to tell stories. There are things that are in the foreground or things that are off to one side that inform what's going on. There's a scene where Carol, the main character in Pluribus, is sitting up, just woken up. She's sitting up out of bed, and there's light coming through a window at her. And we can't see her face except on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see her face in a small mirror. And that kind of cinematography I really like. There we go. Dealey says, on the box out front, I see Imprint have brought out a collection of the 24, 40, and 61 Thief of Baghdad films. Yeah, I reviewed them. That box set is incredible. The 1940 Thief of Baghdad is one of my favorite movies. It's magnificent fantasy. It is just totally an incredible piece of cinema. And I really like it for that. It is just so bloody good. And the fact that Imprint have brought them out is great. And yes, I can appreciate the 1940 Thief of Baghdad, but I think there are good movies coming out now. There are, it's nostalgia. I think it's the difference between fondness for historic stuff and fondness for old stuff, and nostalgia, which I'm kind of interpreting as things were better in the old days when they weren't. There was good stuff. Film noir, I love. Old Bogart movies and old classic cinema and Jacques Tourneur movies and the things that Val Lewton did and old French cinema. I love all of that stuff. But I'm not going to shit on really good things from 2025 just because I like the old stuff. But I think I want to move on from the nostalgia thing. I've got something special to announce. Does anybody want to hear something I'm going to do for December? Now, I'm not really a Christmas guy. I like New Year's. I like Halloween. New Year's I like because there's that perceived idea that things can get better. We can work on ourselves. We can work on the world in a new year. And so I like New Year's. I like Halloween because it's spooky. But I'm going to do something for December on the channel, which I'm going to be experimenting on. And I'll talk to the chat first, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing for December. Technical question: do I use a third party like Restream or just YouTube Studio? I'm just using YouTube Studio at the moment, but I'm looking into Restream, Doug. Franny says nostalgia seems to be wallowing in a history it never really was, as opposed to appreciating what actually happened. What's actually happening? Yeah. Tom says I just watched Oni Barbara on Halloween. I don't love Oni Barbara. Oni Barbara is fantastic J horror. Dealey says Arrow have done a nice Blu-ray box set of the good, the bad, and the weird. Kim Ji-woon's deeply wonderful kimchi western. Yeah, I've seen that. Michael M says nostalgia is longing for the innocence of one's childhood and appreciation of the good and relaxing time. Yeah, that assumes your childhood was innocent, and in so many different ways, mine wasn't. So for me, that doesn't hit. My childhood was nightmarish, and there were good things. There were sanctuaries in cinemas that took sanctuary in cinemas, but I don't have any illusion that my childhood had any innocence to it. So that's not something I can personally relate to, Michael. But anyway, here's what I'm doing. 24 days before Christmas, I'm doing a reverse advent calendar. I'm going to be doing short videos for 24 days in December because apparently YouTube says I should do shorts. And each day I'm going to pull a movie out of a box of 24 movies. And I've got a lot of movies where I've got duplicates of them because I get sent review copies of things I already have. And that means I've got 2 good copies of a movie. So what I'm going to do is over the 24 days, I'm going to pull out 24 movies out of the box and add them into the Advent box. They're going to be chosen randomly. And there's some good stuff in there. There's some 4K. There's a 4K. There's some good Blu-rays. There's some unpackaged Blu-rays. There are some packaged. And at the end of the 24 days, I'm going to draw the names of Patreon supporters and channel members. I'm going to pull one name out of a box, and that person gets the box of the 24 movies. But in the meantime, everybody gets a brief review of each of those movies over the 24 days as a YouTube short, so that I can steer people towards the good stuff as a part of things. I'm still going to be doing the usual videos, but I'm trialing out this reverse advent calendar thing. So I will engage the channel members and the Patreon supporters and find out who wants to be in the box. Some people don't want stuff. Some of the stuff is going to be region coded, some of it's not, but it takes your chances. And I thought it'd be some way to give back to people, and also a way to get some YouTube shorts going, which helps the channel out as well. Thanks, Barrett. It is a good hat. Yep, so that's what I'm going to be doing. It's Deborah's birthday in December, so Deborah, I assume you want to be in there. But yeah, so it is for YouTube channel members and for patrons, because I don't want a rando to come in and win it, if you know what I mean. But that's what I'm going to do. What I probably will do is I'll just record the whole lot at once and then break it up into YouTube shorts, because I'm not going to get up every day and do a new video. Tom says, count me out, I only have DVD players. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. It occurred to me because I was looking through advent calendars to see if there was an advent calendar I wanted to buy myself. And all the ones with good alcohol in them are expensive. Come on, that's drifting even further. Let's see what I do there. Hang on, let's try this. If I turn it that way, what happens? It still focuses over there. So yeah, that was the plan, the reverse advent calendar. Barrett 860B says, I saw Sam's Club have a cheese platter down. Don't know what Sam's Club is. But yeah, so that's the plan, is to do the reverse advent calendar. Probably around the end of the month, I'll start putting the video together and then chopping it up into the parts. So if I'm wearing the same clothes in all the videos for the 24 days, there's a reason. But yeah, so I did watch some stuff yesterday too, and this will come out in my end of month video. But I thought I'd mention them. There are a couple of movies on Netflix that I've been hearing good things about, so I thought I'd watch them. I watched The House of Dynamite, which is Catherine Bigelow's movie. House of Dynamite's great. It's in 3 parts, and it's the story of there's a random launch of a missile towards America. They don't quite know where it's coming from. It's coming from somewhere in the Pacific. And it's about the reaction that they have to this launch of a nuclear missile at America. They don't know where it's coming from because someone's hacked their surveillance systems. And it's about the response to this launch. They try to put some interceptors into the air, but the interceptors are only 61% effective. And that becomes a problem. And the guys and the guy in charge of the base where they launched those from has just found out his wife's leaving him. And so a second round of those missiles doesn't go off because this guy has a breakdown. And various people in the chain of command have breakdowns. One politician jumps off a roof when he finds out that America is going to be hit by a nuclear weapon. It's incredibly tense, incredibly great. It's in 3 different areas. The first one deals with the Strategic Response Center under the White House. The second one deals with another area of responsibility. And the third one follows the president, played by Idris Elba, and his reaction to the fact that America may be attacked by a nuclear weapon. It's going to hit Chicago. And he has to make a response on who to retaliate to and how, while they don't know who launched this weapon. Hi, Lee. How you doing? Hi, Adam. Have I seen The Demon on the Island? French film from 1983. About demonic possession of household appliances. Funny, but played seriously. Yeah. And was the camera made by the people who make supermarket trolleys? No, I don't know. Yeah, House of Dynamite, Tom, is fantastic. It's worth checking out. Now, I've had this camera for a long time, a really long time. And yeah, the firmware is just acting up crazily. And I'm going to, before the next live stream, I'm going to have to find a way to rectify this because it is really off. See if I can do that. If I do that, does it come back to me? No, I'm out of the frame. But I can kind of push the gimbal around. There's my other yucky part of the man cave. And it goes back again. I'm going to straighten up this monitor just so I can see what you guys are doing. And we're just going to have to put up with this shit. Yeah, so I saw House of Dynamite. Recommend it. It doesn't come to a definitive ending. But it comes to an ending. Is that better for people? If I do that, would that be acceptable to people? Because at least it's stable. Much better, says Barrett. Yes, I'm going to keep it like this. It's going to look weird, but it's going to be, I can crop it in later. Yeah, so basically I saw that. And then I saw Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein. And that I love. Oscar Isaac in there. We've got Jacob Elordi playing the monster. You got Christoph Waltz. You got Mia Goth. Fantastic. That really worked for me as a movie. It's very different from any other Frankenstein movie. And in some ways, it goes closer to the original story, though the original story, being 200 years old, doesn't have the same narrative structure as a modern story would. But it looks fantastic. Guillermo del Toro used physical sets, so the laboratory and all the other places in it are actual physical sets. But if you haven't seen Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, it's on Netflix now, and it's fantastic. I hope it gets a physical release because it's one of those movies that I would love to have in 4K. And I would totally grok that. But Jacob Elordi is very good as the monster. Oscar Isaac goes through an interesting arc as the Baron. Mia Goth isn't as involved as you'd want Mia Goth to be in the movie, but she is at the heart of the movie. And the interesting thing is that the theme of this Frankenstein is about toxic parenting, which is an interesting twist. And I love the grace note at the end of the movie, which I'm not going to spoil for you. But that grace note at the end of the movie is terrific. Michael M says, the wife and I enjoyed Frankenstein too. Love the practical settings and all. Deborah says, I saw Frankenstein on the big screen. It's lush. It is. It's beautiful. The production design is mind-blowingly beautiful. And I love that. Yeah, they did stick closer to the story than the others. And the bits with the old guy in the forest are incredible. Just amazing. Oh, look, Peter, you got to see Frankenstein. It is just something very, very special. But yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. I think you're going to. Maybe one of my best movies of the year. I love Guillermo del Toro. He is just such in control of his talents and in control of his vision. And this is a movie he's wanted to make for 2 decades. And it really works. Michael says, folks should try to see it on the big screen. It's so worth it. Whether you can or not, I think seeing it in some way, you're going to enjoy it. Palace is showing it in Adelaide. It's interesting with this one because it's showing on Netflix and it's showing on the big screen. It's showing down at my local as well, but I haven't got the resources at the moment to get out and see it because we're dealing with the family stuff we're dealing with. But yeah, it's a big recommend for me, that one. The other thing I've got, and this is before we just kind of chat and shoot the shit, there's been a lot of talk in movies and in like interviews with people. Let's try this. About intimacy coordinators in movies. Now, if you don't know what an intimacy coordinator is, it's a person who talks the actors through scenes of intimacy in film. So if you're getting naked and getting jiggy in a movie, they're the people who make sure that everybody is comfortable with where they're touched, how things are going. And we're getting a bit of a backlash on intimacy coordinators. There are actors and actresses who are saying, yeah, we didn't need an intimacy coordinator. I trusted the person I was with, and that kind of thing. And I find that interesting. I think intimacy coordinators are good because if people do need to set boundaries around the way they're in a movie and what happens in intimate scenes in a movie, I'm kind of good with that. Anything that makes people comfortable with what they're doing and treats them like a worker whose mental and physical health is important is great. But that backlash where people say, I didn't need an intimacy coordinator, I trusted the other person, they're coming from a place of privilege too, because those people are big stars. A big star doesn't need an intimacy coordinator because they can say, don't do this, do this. And people who are down the cast list, who don't have any power on set, need an intimacy coordinator to help them with the things they're not comfortable with. Yeah, Friday says, if you don't need one, how's having one a problem? Absolutely. And Michael says, better to have the coordinator on set and not need one than need one and not have one. Absolutely. Which is, I think people who say, I don't need one, I was comfortable with the person, they're not helping other people. It's like being a welder and saying, I don't need a safety person on my work site because I know what I'm doing and I'm good at doing it. But you still need health and safety people. Yeah, it seems a weird backlash there. I think the people who are talking like that haven't thought it through. And by the way, I should mention, We do have the fart gun available for superchats. If anybody wants to avail themselves of that, we do have that. And by the way, I am doing at the end of the year my usual New Year's Eve live stream from 11 p.m. New Year's Eve my time to 1 a.m. New Year's Day. I'm doing that again this year as well. And they're usually a lot of fun. Deborah says, I suspect it's a legal requirement of the studio to protect their asses with the intimacy coordinators. Studios can get away with anything if they've got enough money for it. That's the problem. And it's not a legal requirement, but I think that it should be in people's contracts that they have one for those kind of scenes. It hasn't happened in the past, and there have been problems. Maria Schneider in Last Tango in Paris, for instance, will be the poster child for a scene that needed an intimacy coordinator and simply didn't have one. But yeah, I mean, and one of the other things that's come up with this as well, which is interesting, is the amount of male actors who want to fuck their female co-stars and in various ways put pressure on them to do that. And Franny says, yeah, there were some terrible things done on set, and probably still are in some places. Yeah. And Doug says he loves the New Year's Eve live stream. I've done it for 3 years now. This will be the 4th. And the live streams are fun. And the good thing is I can have on my second TV over here the New Year's Eve live streams from local television where they show the fireworks displays. YouTube Me says, how doing this morning? Are you a bot or a troll? But yeah, the intimacy coordinator thing is kind of interesting. I'll sit up a bit because I've got to grab something off a screen here. Yep, got it. YouTube Me says, I'm real. I'm in Australia, Brisbane. Okay, what part of Brisbane you from? YouTube Me says, nostalgia is not a toxic impulse. It's commonly. Franny says, last thing in Paris immediately came to mind is also an interview Hodorowski described a therapeutic rape. His description, not mine. YouTube says, nostalgia is not a toxic impulse. It can be, but I recall going to see Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. I mean, I'm disappointed with Top Gun Maverick because they cut out all the gay stuff to a certain extent. And Top Gun itself was incredibly homoerotic, which amused the hell out of me because there was no charisma between the male and the female lead in that movie for reasons which may have to do with the sexuality of the male and female lead. D. Lee says, I also saw a Swedish film called Weightless recently, which had a sexual assault scene of a teenager by an older man, and the director explained at the Q&A that they had a coordinator. Yeah, I think that's crucial in those kind of scenes. Thomas says, I saw Last Tango in Paris on a big screen. What was a bad thing that happened? It had to do with butter, and that scene wasn't consensual. YouTube Me says, when my wife and I went to see Maverick at opening day, I started laughing right off the bat. I laughed my ass off. Okay, cool. But yeah, I think intimacy coordinators are crucial. And YouTube Me says, my wife and the shared laugh. Why are you laughing so hard? I said, they aren't even hiding it. Top Gun Maverick was 100% nostalgia. Yeah, it was a cash cow. And all of those movies are. The one thing I am looking forward to is I want to see Predator Badlands. I'm hearing good things about that. And I do want to see it because it's telling a news story in the same universe. It's not just riding the nostalgia choo-choo. Hi, Ramza. After watching so many classic movies on HBO Max, many for the first time in decades, I'm going to the theatres this coming week to see Frankenstein, Begonia, and Predator Badlands. Good choices. Frankenstein, highly recommend, Ramza. Just a lush, beautiful film. Very dark in its own way. And there's an interesting twist with the character played by Christoph Waltz, which has to do with Venus and Mercury. DB Cooper, got a cold. The fart gun will match my feelings. Thank you, DB. Appreciate that, brother. Fart gun. Top Gun, one of those movies that glorifies war. No, it glorifies repressed homosexuality. YouTube says, no pretension nostalgia is trash and insulting, but completely self-aware nostalgia like Maverick is perfect. I disagree, but that's okay. Michael says, we've heard stories of actresses who are coerced and set in ways that go against their wishes. Intimacy coordinators should be available to mitigate abusive behavior. Absolutely. Friday said her fart gun was in sync with mine. Cool. Gotta love the fart gun. And I've already finished one bottle of water. I'm on to my second bottle of water now. But yeah, intimacy coordinators, I think, are a great thing. It's like any other workplace. You've got to have health and safety people there. One night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. Yeah, absolutely. D. Lee, the recent crop of delayed sequels, Blade Runner, Spinal Tap, Top Gun, all rely on nostalgia to some extent. Yeah, but I think from what I understand of the Spinal Tap sequel, it mocks the nostalgia as much as it celebrates it. Friday says, never underestimate the power of the fart gun to cheer people up. I may well use the fart gun at midnight on New Year's Eve as well for the New Year's Eve live stream, which I'm looking forward to. Still got some stuff to get through before then, but New Year's Eve fart gun live stream sounds like a good thing. And I will be putting up decorations across the back here. I've got some icicle lights I'm going to hang up and other things, which should help things along. But yeah, by the way, I do have a lot of stuff coming from imprint soon. It may arrive today or it may arrive soon. But I've got some really good old TV series on Blu-ray they're sending me, as well as some movie box sets. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. There's some 4Ks in there that are going to blow your mind. Ramsdale said 2 in IMAX, although 2 will be streaming on Netflix and Hulu. Nothing like IMAX. First time back in the theatre since September 30th. Binging classic movies on HBO Max. Many for the first time. Go for it. Yeah, I kind of went on this stream of watching episodic series like first 2 episodes of Pluribus and Slow Horses, and I was watching a couple of other things as well. And they felt cinematic. They felt like I was watching movies. So watching the 5th season of Slow Horses is a really interesting film. And the backstory we get very subtly for Gary Oldman's Jackson Lamb is really, really mind-blowing. And it only lands in the last moments of the last episode. Thank you, Ramazar. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, if you haven't watched Slow Horses, you've got 5 seasons of wonderfulness to enjoy there. YouTube me says, I would say that around 50% of the movies I've watched in the last year aren't from the major providers. It's either Tubi or one that delivers non-stop is Broly. I recommend it. Yeah, if you can get a VPN and go to broly.com.au, that's Umbrella's streaming service, which is available here in Australia. And it's got so much Australian content, old Australian movies, horror movies. It's got some overseas stuff as well. But Broly is underestimated, and it's a free service. You don't have to pay for Broly. And Umbrella, with whom I have the relationship that they send me review copies of things, is a company, and I've talked to a couple of people from Umbrella at various times. They're your and my kind of movie buffs, but they're in the business. And like a lot of the smaller boutique labels that are releasing physical media, it's a passion project as much as it's a business for the people working there. And Broly has some fantastic stuff in it. And unedited as well, says YouTube mate. Friday says, having finished Slow Horses, I've decided to start rewatching The Blacklist. Have you had a look at Down Cemetery Road yet, Friday? Because that's by Mick Herron as well. And Emma Thompson is just fantastic in it. Let's see what I got here. By the way, for those who follow this kind of stuff, the only things I really drink these days are occasionally juice, but I mostly drink water and coffee. Yeah, Franny says, yeah, I'm watching Down Cemetery Road. Love Emma. And setting it in Oxford is really interesting too, because you get different locations. You don't just usually get the Shard and all the kind of things that you get in London-based shows. And it's very dark. Michael says, enjoyed season 1 of Slow Horses. Oldman's fantastic. Did not get to watch the subsequent seasons. There's your opportunity, Michael. You can sit up with your bunions on a cushion and just watch the other 4 seasons, and they're worth it. The character development's there. We're more and more Jackson Lamb, but the 5th season is where you find out why Jackson Lamb is the Jackson Lamb you see. And there's a nice monologue in the middle of season 5 where he explains that implicitly, but not explicitly. Let's see what else I've got here. I was digging here in the man cave, and it is like archaeology because I forget half the stuff that's here in the man cave because it's all buried under piles and stuff, and I'm trying to sort things out. And I found out I had a copy of this, Felicity, which is the Australian version of Emmanuel. Weird film. And I found out I actually have a copy of Emmanuel as well, and a next rental copy of Camille 2000. I dug in and found a whole bunch of adult films. Michael says I'll jump back into Slow Horses, of course. And he says, did I get to review Ridley Scott's Napoleon? Watched about an hour and got bored. It felt like Joaquin Phoenix was sleepwalking through the role. No, I haven't watched it. To be honest with you, I'm not that in love with Ridley Scott as a director. There's something about him that's off-putting. Ramsar said, I watched 277 films so far in 2025, of which 1/3 are non-English languages, 18% are 2025 releases, and 66% I'd never watched before. Cool. How many movies have I watched this year? Let me bring that up. 330. I'm trying to do one a day this year, but I'm up to 330, so I'm only got to do about another 35 or 36 movies to hit my mark, and I'm definitely going to be able to do that. Friday says, I also love that Emma Thompson's dad was responsible for one of my favorite children's TV shows, The Magic Roundabout. Yeah, and Emma Thompson is a Nepo baby because her mother is Felicia Law, who was an actress as well. But yeah, Slow Horses. I would love to rewatch Slow Horses and not have any memory of it. It's one of those series where if I could raise my memory of Slow Horses and go and re-enjoy it again, it'd be a great thing. Though wiping out my memory is not something I'm inclined to do. So here's a random question I just thought of. What's your favorite snacks when you're watching movies? Because movie snacks are kind of important. They're part of the fun. They're part of the joy of watching movies, whether you're doing it at home or whether you're doing it in the cinema. Now, for me, I actually watched Frankenstein, which was, and what I had was had some French pastis, a Ricard pastis, with ice and water, and I watched that because it has a rich aniseed flavor. I kind of dig that, and that's what I was sipping while I was watching Frankenstein. Snacks, I wasn't particularly eating snacks, but I had an apple. So that was the snacks I had then. Peter, aromatic emissions, please. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that, brother. That was a short one. You get another one. Thank you. Yeah, Rams, I said, I'm averaging 25 movies a day. 25 movies a day or a week? Because 25 movies a day means you're watching 45-minute movies and not getting any sleep. But yeah, it's again that's the thing about nostalgia. Finding the new good stuff is a joy. And I think I mentioned this on the last live stream at the end of it. You can't recapture the joy you had as an 8-year-old watching a dinosaur on the screen. The way to do it is to find something new that gives you the same joy as an adult as that dinosaur gave you when you're 8. It's not about the dinosaur. It's about finding something in cinema that you really love and that really engages you and it tickles your fancy and fancies your tickle. I think that's where nostalgia goes wrong. It assumes that feeling is based on the original material and it's not. It's based on your passion of cinema. And people will have a disconnect between linking that joy with seeing something you have never seen before as opposed to something that made you feel that joy in the past. DB Cooper says, I'm partial to sour candy at the theatre. The wife loves over-salted popcorn. Ramsar says, 25 movies a month. Fat fingers are the curse of the iPhone. Yep, fair enough. Tom says, I drink non-alcoholic beer while I watch stuff on TV. No snacking. Fair enough. Peter says, favourite snack, espresso with macadamias or pistachios? I'll go with espresso. Absolutely, mate. D. Lee says, we're getting a artillery barrage. We are. And it's good. Ramzar says, my theatre has junior mints in the freezer. Goes great with black coffee. Are they like mint, dark chocolate mint things? Popcorn and a movie in the big screen go hand in hand for me. At home, it's a bag of noisy chips. Yeah, I've changed my the things I eat while I'm watching movies because I'm trying to go low salt for reasons. It does spike my heart rate if I have too much salt. So I'm going with low salt snacks. And there are a few of them around. But for the most part, I'm trying to do nice, healthy stuff like eating an apple while I'm watching the movie or something like that, where I still get the sweetness, I still get the mouthfeel of something with a bit of texture to it. But I'm not doing that. The other thing I get is there are some Indian snacks like bhujia mix, which are a combination of nuts, fruits, and soy crisps. But they're curry flavored and they're flavored with aromatic Indian spices. And a good bhujia mix is nice because it's not salty, but it's got a very complex, spicy flavor. And that works for me when I'm watching movies sometimes. Michael says, popcorn and a movie on a big screen go hand in hand for me. At home, it's a bag of noisy chips. She said that. Catherine says, Matha actually says 277 in 313 days is less than one a day. Yep. D-Lee says, I'm not eater in cinemas, but partial to grapes when watching films at home. Catherine says, Twizzlers and popcorn. Tell you what I do like, and I can only find occasionally. The one good snack food that I really like that comes out of the UK, Twiglets, which are kind of like Marmite sticks. I like a good Twiglet. I can get them in one local supermarket, but I only get them occasionally. And Twiglets make a good movie snack as well. But yeah, I really should. And also, the other thing, that's what I'm going to work out too. What snacks am I going to have on board when I'm doing the live stream on New Year's Eve? Because the New Year's Eve live stream requires something. Ramsay said, Junior makes a dark chocolate on the outside with creamy mint inside, even better when frozen. They sound good. I would go there. Dark chocolate I like. We've got a thing called mint slices here, which are biscuits covered in dark chocolate with a mint and a biscuit wafer inside. And mint slices are great. You can get them in all of our supermarkets. Much prefer them to things like Tim Tams. Mint slices hit for me. The other thing I like snacking on occasionally is at Aldi they have a ginger biscuit which is made with stem ginger. And it's really cheap. It's just like a standard kind of cookie type biscuit. And I'll eat a couple of those while I'm watching things as well because I really like the flavour of ginger. And so the stem ginger biscuits from Aldi, which are like $2.50 a packet, they're cheap. We always have a few of them because they're my snack. They're not particularly sweet for a biscuit, but they do have that nice peppery spiciness of ginger in them. One of the things my local cinema does that's interesting is because some of the movies they show, and probably about half the movies they show at my local Cineplex, are from South Asia, so they're Indian diaspora movies. Our local cinema will do samosas and other Indian snacks as snacks for you to have in the movie. So you can actually have some very spicy and yummy things to eat in the local cinema. Hi, Jose. How you doing? It is morning here. Welcome to the club. Yeah, so just such a good choice. I really don't want to go too salty with mine these days. So I'm looking for good alternatives. And I am trying to have slightly healthier alternatives these days. Hey, this looks like the sun might come out. We've had rain for the last 3 or 4 days. And it's going to rain a bit more. But yeah, I might be getting a bit of sunshine through. The other thing is on the other channel, my travel channel, Terry Travels. Haven't done anything for a little over a week because it's been a bit wet and I haven't really had the opportunity to get out. But I will be doing more things as the summer comes up. So if you haven't subscribed to Terry Travels, you really should. Yeah, Peter says Bollywood with samosas. Perfect, absolutely. And Tollywood, we get a whole bunch of different ones. They're also showing a lot of anime movies like the Chainsaw Man movies at our local cinema. And I'm really going to have to get to see the Chainsaw Man movie. Tom says, use curry powder instead of salt. That works. The other thing that works, even though it does have a small amount of salt in it, is Cajun seasoning is a good alternative to salt with all those complex spicy flavors with the onion powder and the garlic powder and things like that. Deborah says, really snacks I'm limited because of food allergies. Yep, that will do it. Doug says, we have tried an excellent spin on burritos by using cheddar chippy sausages as a filling with tortillas and sour cream and salsa. It's good. Ramsey says, last night I watched Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. Phenomenal. Great surreal touches tonight I'm watching his Orpheus. I love that Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I really like Jean Marais as an actor, who was Cocteau's muse and lover. Beauty and the Beast and Orpheus are just immensely fantastic and beautiful. DB Cooper says, Terry Travels is the best video comfort foods. Yep, I will be doing some more videos for that this week. Sorry. And I'm going to go down the K Road cliffs and go down along the Werribee River a bit. Jose says, I make potato masala here. Very little salt, but serrano peppers and ginger and cayenne give it a kick, and I don't miss the salt. Yeah, me too. Having the spicy stuff really works for me. One of the things I've done with some of the foods I eat, like if I'm having chicken strips or something like that, I'll put peri-peri sauce on them instead of salt. And so I do get an alternative to salt that enhances the flavor of the food. So it's working around stuff. For me, because I've got to cut down on salt, finding these alternatives is kind of crucial because I don't want to eat boring food. I don't want to eat 1950s Australian boring food. YouTube me says to Doug, I'm a 50-year-old communications security technician who was in the USMC, and my name is Doug. Okay, cool. But yeah, just finding those right snacks for you. I do like beef jerky occasionally. Strip of beef jerky while I'm watching a movie doesn't hurt either. Though I'm still in the search for better beef jerky at the moment. Michael M says paprika instead of salt. I do like paprika. And I do use that on chicken breasts sometimes, where you just sprinkle paprika on it and then slow roast them. We're turning into a food channel here, but that's okay. It is still obliquely and tangentially related to movies. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching some interesting stuff. I'm just going to bring something up, so bear with me while my computer does slow things. I get so many emails. Finding the right one is difficult. Yeah, the stuff I'm getting from Imprint, I'll just give you a preview. I'm getting 310 to Yuma, the remake on 4K. I'm getting Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, Department S. Invasion of the Body Snatchers on 4K. Twins of Evil on 4K. Kolchak the Night Stalker on Blu-ray. And a bunch of other movies, including a John Huston box set. So that's the stuff I'm going to be getting soon. And I'll be reviewing on the channel. Tom, we don't have Slim Jims in Australia. Yeah, Michael, Terry eats. Franny says I only have about 5 types of salt plus MSG in my kitchen. Yeah, I use a little bit, but I'm cutting down. Jose says to be out of print and not available in the US, there is a Mill Creek version. Okay. Yeah, YouTube me. I need to cut down on the salt for health reasons. So I do have salt in my food naturally, but I don't add extra salt in it these days, and I've found that it does help with my atrial fibrillation. Yeah, I'll have Captain Scarlet too, Franny. Kolchak. D-Lee says, I've heard Australians sing the praises of chicken salt. Chicken salt's good. It's a bit different. I think it's got celery salt and other things in it, but it's a nice mixture. So yeah, I've got all that stuff coming from Imprint. They've been very generous this month. I'll probably be getting 2 videos out of it because I'm going to split it up into TV and the movie side of it. But one of the movies in the box set of John Huston stuff is John Huston's adaptation of The Dead, the James Joyce story. which is one of the great short stories of the English language. And the movie does it justice. The Dead is a fantastic little film that John Huston made at the end of his life with his daughter Angelica Huston. Yeah, regarding The Damned, says Jose. Yeah, that's fine. The Damned, I like. Rewatching it, I really enjoyed it. Michael says, looking forward to hearing more about the John Huston box set. Yeah, it's a good box set. It really is well curated. Doug says, excellent TV shows. Department S, Kolchak, Captain Scarlet is very dark, especially, but excellent, especially for a kids show. Yeah. Having a hero that dies in every episode and comes back to life is kind of a little bit dark. YouTube says, celery salt, that's a flashback. My mum used to do celery and cream cheese, only spice with black pepper and celery salt. Celery salt made the celery pop, tasting even more like celery. Yeah, celery salt, underrated. But chicken salt is a combination of that and a bunch of other things. Ramsar watched the Battle of Algiers and Z. Had to watch them before, but several decades ago. Yeah, Costas Bravas. Bravas, yeah. Haven't watched them in a long time, but I really should watch Battle of Algiers particularly again. Deborah says chicken salt is mostly nutritional yeast, but also a lot of stock powder. I use it a lot for umami notes. Cool. Chicken salt ain't an American thing. No. Yeah, but chicken salt works. And when I go to the fish and chip shop, it's always they always ask chicken salt or normal salt. So you get the choice here. And chicken salt's just got such a like Deborah says, a really good umami hit, which is one of the reasons why I love Vegemite. Vegemite is like an umami tsunami. And yeah, we are really talking about food this time around, and that's okay. We can vary it up as long as we bring it back to movies in some ways as well. Yeah, I've got a few things. What was it? I'm trying to think. YouTube says I use MSG in my cooking. Yeah, MSG is fine. Middle-aged geek girl thought she was allergic to MSG, but she wasn't because we accidentally got some Chinese food with MSG in it, and she didn't have a reaction. And now she's eating Chinese food all the time. Umami and cooking in theatres, absolutely. I did find out, I got an update from my local cinema here in Werribee, which is the local town centre to where I live. They've got a cash converters pawn shop, which is housed in an old cinema. But the local council has bought the cinema. And when Cash Converters lease is up, they're going to turn it into a bunch of little boutique cinemas in the same way Yarraville here in Melbourne has done. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of boutique cinemas in my local area in the next few years. And I'm looking forward to that. YouTube me says, take some MSG and sprinkle it on plain popcorn. Friday says, what are people's best food movies? Tampopo. I like Big Night, the one with Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub in it. Big Night is the ultimate foodie movie for me. YouTube me says, Chef is great. Yeah, I like Chef. Really interesting Jon Favreau movie. Yeah, he did a few Marvel movies and then went, I'm going to make a personal film about making Cubano sandwiches. Chef is good, but for me, Big Night just hits. Yeah, Big Night has 3 of the great movie scenes ever. Yeah, Big Night is underrated. I was so happy when I got that on Blu-ray because I really wanted a copy of Big Night, and I watched it on streaming. But if you haven't seen it, you really should do that. Deborah says Babette's Feast. Yeah, that's a good one. But for me, Big Night, I just like the complexity of the personal lives of the people involved as well. T. Lee says Captain Scarlet's basic concept was the hero is a copy of a dead man fighting in a struggle his side started. Yeah, it's true. And they started it by accident.